Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. My name is Uche. On this channel, I post sewing tutorials and DIYs. Today, I'll be putting you through on how I achieved this beautiful two-piece. If today is your first time of coming across my video, thank you for stopping by. Please kindly subscribe to my channel, like, share, and comment. And to all my returning subscribers, I love you all. Without wasting much of your time, let's get right into the video. I'll be using this damask fabric and I have 2 years. 1 yard of chantilly lace, a matching lining, zipper and thread. I've gone ahead to rule out my starting line and I will divide my shoulder measurement by 2, mark it there, take my neck width, 2.5 inches. I'll come down by 1 inch from my shoulder slope. I'll connect it to the neckline. For my shoulder slope, I'll come down to my chest line. So divide your bust by 6 and add 1 inch to it. I'll also measure what I have on my shoulder on that line. I'll connect it to a straight line to meet the shoulder slope. I'll roll it across and I'll label it my CL. Placing my tape on my shoulder line, I'll mark out my bust point, my under bust, and my waistline. I'll roll them across. So placing my tape on my shoulder line, I'll mark out where I want my off shoulder to start from and I mark out 5 inches downward. I'll also roll it across. On that 5 inches I came down by, I'm going to divide my nipple to nipple by 2 and I'll mark it on that line, on my bust point, on my under bust, and also on my waistline. I'll go ahead to connect them to a straight line. From my under bust, I'll go out by 1.5 inches and I'll come in by 1 inch. On the waistline, I'll also do the same thing, 1 inch, 1.5 inch. Now connect the points like so. From my bust point, I will come downward by 1 inch and I'll go ahead to connect them with the cuff part of my ruler. Watch what I'm doing. Under my off shoulder line, I'm going to be taking half inch on the both sides. I'll connect it like so. What I will do next is to divide my body measurements. On my chest line, I will divide my bust circumference by 4 and I'll replace the dart I took out on that chest line. On my under bust, I will divide my under bust measurement by 4. I will also replace the dart I took out on the under bust. On the waistline, I will divide my waist circumference by 4 and I'll also replace the dart I took out on that waistline. I'll go ahead to connect all the points I have marked out. On my off shoulder line, I will come down by 1.5 inches. So you can decide to go lower. For me, I'm maintaining this 1.5 inches. And I'll be using my free hand to connect it to my dart leg. You can also use the cup part of your ruler. And from that, my dart leg, I'll cover it to my armhole. So watch the way I'm doing it because I don't want my bust to be revealing. So I'm not going to be going deeper. I'll connect it like so. And I'll blend it in. I'll go ahead to cut it out. My back pattern, I divide my shoulder measurement by 2. I took my neck width. I came down by 1 inch for my shoulder slope. I came down to my chest line. I connected it across. From my shoulder, I came down to my under bust and my waistline. I rolled them across. So I'll be extending down my chest line to meet the center of my pattern paper. And from my chest line, I will divide my nipple to nipple measurement and I'll mark half of it. Now mark it also on my underbust and my waistline. I'll connect them with a straight ruler. On the waistline, I will take half inch on the both sides of my dart leg for my dart, and I'll connect it to the chest line in a slanted manner like so. So on my chest line, I will divide my bust measurement by 4, my under bust by 4, and my waist measurement by 4. Now replace the dart I took out on my waistline. I'll also replace the dart I took out on the under bust, and I'll connect them. So I'll go ahead to cut it out. I'll be cutting it from the chest line. For the down part of this gown, I'll fold my fabric into two. I'll be cutting it on my fabric. Now make sure that it will contain my hip circumference plus 2 inches for my seam allowance. After that, I'll roll out my starting line, also known as my waistline. This, and from that starting line, I'll come down to my hip line, 9 inches. To get the length of my gown, I'll be subtracting my half length, placing it on my starting point. I'll mark out my gown length. I'm chalking out 42 inches. This is my preferred gown length. Go ahead and mark out your own gown length. So on the starting point, I'll divide my waist measurement by 4 and I'll add 2 inches to it. I won't be adding that. So on my hip line, I'll also divide my hip circumference by 4 and I'll add 2 inches to it. So whatever I have under my hip line, I'll subtract 2 inches from it and I'll mark it on the hem of my gown. I'll go ahead to connect them like so. Now connect it to the hem from my hip to the hem. And after that, I'll cut it off camera. I folded another fabric and I placed my front piece on it to cut out the back piece. And I left 1.5 inches. After that, I'll cut it off camera. So this is my upper back piece. Now reduce the zip allowance by half inch in order to avoid zipper bulge at the back. After cutting it, I like to place it on my fabric and I'll be marking out my stitching allowance on the sides to 2 inches for stitching allowance. Not marking it out, I also add 1.5 inches for my zipper allowance. And after that, I'll cut it out. On the down part, I'll be leaving half inch for joining allowance. And the upper part, I'll also leave half inch. I'll notch my dart legs. And I'll also indicate my zipper allowance. So for the bustier area, I place them on my folded fabric and I'll be adding 2 inches on the side for my stitching allowance. Remember, I did not add it when I was drafting out this pattern. And after adding it, I'll go ahead to cut them out, leaving half inch on every side. Apart from the side that I added stitching allowance of 2 inches, I'll be adding half inch on every other side. After that, I'll cut outlining for each of the pieces and I'll also interface my bustier pieces and I'll be back. Welcome back guys. I'm gonna head to cut out lining piece for each and every one of them. And for the bustier part, I also interfaced it and glued my pad on it. So I'll remove my lining pieces so that we can start working on the bustier area. So this is my center front and I'll match my side front to it, right side facing right side. I'll go ahead to pin it together. After pinning it, I'll head over to my sewing machine and I'll stitch it by 1/2 inch. And whatever I did on that side, I'll do the same thing on the other side. I'll match it up and I'll stitch it by 1/2 inch as well. For my lining piece, I'll repeat the same process. I'm gonna have to stitch it like I explained earlier. So this is what I have. This is the wrong side of it. So what I'll do next is to open up the seam allowance and I'll give it a good press. So for the back piece, I'll open it up and I'll place my lining piece on it like so. I'll also place the other one. So what I will do is I will stitch 1/2 inch on the upper part, 1/2 inch on the side, and also on the zipper allowance. I'll do the same thing on the other side and I'll be back. Like I explained earlier, I've gone ahead to iron it out properly and I'll place the lining piece on it. I'm going ahead to pin it down. After pinning it down, I will stitch it by 1/2 inch on that upper part I pinned down. And I'll also close the side by 1/2 inch. For the back piece, remember the notch I made on my dart leg. So go ahead to highlight that line. So this is it for my dart. I'll move to my sewing machine. I'll close it down like so. Close it down. And I'll do the same thing on the other side and I'll be for the skate part. I'm gonna have to cut out lining piece. You can see, and I reduce the lining piece by 1 inch on the down part. So I'll open up my fabric. I'll place my lining piece on it. So like I said earlier, I reduced it by 1 inch. So I'll go ahead to pin it. And after pinning it, I'll stitch it by 1/2 inch. So what I will do to that upper part is that I will drag my lining piece up to meet my waistline. By the time I drag it up, you notice that my lining piece have pushed my fabric up. And I'll go ahead to stitch it by 1/2 inch. And I'll do the same thing for the other side. So whatever I do on this, I'll do it to the back piece as well. I'll place my lining piece on it and I'll stitch it by 1/2 inch all sides. I'll do it and I'll be back. So I'm gonna have to turn my upper part and I also close my dart. And for the skirt, I'm gonna have to turn every piece and I iron them out properly. So this is the back piece. I do the same thing. The next thing I will do is to join the bustier part to my skirt part. So like so. And I'll stitch it by 1/2 inch. Now I'll do the same thing for the back piece. After matching them up, I'll turn it right side facing right side and I'll stitch it by 1/2 inch on the waistline. I'm gonna have to do that and I also iron it properly. So I'll close my back side with my zipper allowance. Welcome back guys, I'm gonna have to do that. And I also iron out that zipper allowance flat and I'll insert my zipper. After inserting my zipper, I'll also go ahead to take my body measurement and I'll stitch it down. I'll be back. For the lace part of this dress, I'll be drafting it on my pattern paper because the lace is not stable. I'll roll up my starting line and I'll take my neck weight 3 inches and I'll come down by 3.5 inches. I'll connect it. I'll divide my shoulder measurement by 2 and I'll mark it out. I'll come down by 1 inch for my shoulder allowance. I'll connect it. I'll come down to my chest line and I'll connect it like so. I'll also roll it across. From my starting line, I'll come down to my under bust and my waistline. I'll roll them across. My chest line, I'll measure my bust circumference divided by 4. So because this lace is stretchy, I'll not be adding stitching allowance to it. Because this fabric is very stretchy, so I will leave it like that. I will divide my under bust measurement by 4 and I'll mark it out. I'll divide my waist measurement by 4 and I'll mark it out. I will add 1 inch for my dart and I'll connect it like so. So from that shoulder slope to my chest line, I will divide by 2. I'll come in by 1/2 inch and I'll connect it. I'll curve out my armhole. On my waistline, I'll take half of my nipple to nipple measurement and also my under bust. And also from that waistline, I'll go up by 5 inches my dart length. And I'll also take my nipple to nipple divided by 2. I'll roll them into a straight line. On my waistline, I'll take 1/2 inch on the both sides and I'll roll it to meet that 5 inches I marked earlier. From my starting point, I'll come down by 1 inch for my neck depth and I'll go ahead to cut it out. And after cutting it out, I will trace it on my lace fabric and I'll be back. I'm going ahead to cut out all the pieces. I'll be taking my dart. I'll fold my fabric into 2 and I'll mark out my dart leg 3.5 inches and I'll go up by 5 inches. So what I did on the pattern paper when I was drafting it, I'm going to do it on my fabric. And after that, I will join the front and the back piece on the shoulder by 1/2 inch. And I'll also close my sides by 1/2 inch and I'll be back. So I've done all that. So I'll pipe the neckline with this bias and I'll be back. I'm gonna have to pipe it. As you can see, this is my sleeve. I went ahead to cut out my sleeve. So I'll fold it into 2 and I'll join it on my armhole. I'll stitch it to my armhole. As you can see. And after that, I'll insert my zipper on the back piece. So I'll make sure that the hem of the zipper is touching the hem of my top. Like so. And after stitching it, I'll cut out the excess zipper. I'll cut it out. I'm gonna need to do that. So if you want to iron this out, I will suggest you use a low heat to iron it so that in order to avoid it from burning. This is it. And this is the front view. So this is my top dress. I ironed everything properly. So this brings us to the end of this video. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, please kindly do so. By doing that, you are helping my channel to grow. And also put on your notification bell and don't forget to like, share and comment. Thank you for watching. Bye.